name is Carol. I'm the co-founder and the CEO of CodeSpace. We are a Shopify web solutions agency, and we are minority and women-owned.
Hi, I'm Mia, CEO of ClickVoyant. It's an analytics software for e-commerce companies to understand their customer behavior inside their merchandising.
We are Asian at the same time. No way.
Luke, welcome to the show.
Thank you guys for having me. Good to be here.
I'm really excited because most of our guests usually are in charge of one website. Like I'm Pornhub, I'm Performance Golf, I'm Adtalem. But you are different because you work at an agency. And as much as I pity you working at an agency, having been there before,
Facts.
it's still amazing to see so many different brands. Can you tell me a little bit about like what you think you observe as trending in the world of conversion rate optimization?
Yeah, for sure. Well, first of all, I have plenty of brands to spread around. If you want to help me manage them at any point, just let me know. But
yes.
yeah, I mean, I think trend wise, it kind of like kind of as you mentioned, it's been a lot of the industry specific trends. I think as well. I think the trends we're trying to avoid are like some of the more complex things. I think when it comes to CRO, a lot of the times the simpler it can be better. When I say that, for example, we could definitely spend the time to build out a brand new, really cool feature that may or may not work on your product page. But let's start by just checking out, if something like just the content you're displaying on your product pages is sending the right message and targeting the right sort of people that you want to acquire. So, with all the particular trends going on, especially with the kind of optimized shift we saw last year and a lot of the UIs that a lot of the new platforms are building out, I think sometimes it's hard to just take a step back and say, okay, let's just make sure our copy and our messaging and some of the things that we're trying to relay to our clients in general are kind of sending the right ideas, and that we're making it very easy and seamless for them to not only find the right products they want, but get from product to checkout as seamlessly as possible as well.
Yeah. And do you think that there's some industries that are adopting it at a faster pace than others?
In terms of CRO in general?
Yeah.
I don't think so necessarily that I've seen. I think the biggest thing is in terms of like, I think the kind of old adage is like, we need to hit a certain traffic point to be able to start CRO testing. And we're trying to kind of like roll back that misconception. Obviously, the less traffic you have, you might need to run a test a little bit longer to get more tangible results. But at the end of the day, your kind of customer base and clientele is going to show you through these tests, through these various tests, what you want, what they want to see the most, regardless of it's 100,000 visitors a month or 10,000 visitors a month. So I think that's kind of a misconception that we're trying to roll back in general. And just, I think you guys have obviously seen, and probably why you even started this podcast, just the overall tentativeness of getting into this, whether it's like a cost thing, a traffic thing, as I just mentioned, but really it's like, your customers are going to tell you better than any sort of, numbers or data, like what they want to see. So that's kind of a good starting place to get going.
It's crazy. Like, I mean, so you brought up also the elephant in the room, which is that Google Optimize went away in October. And I did a poll on LinkedIn to see what tools are you thinking about? And it was all over the map. It was like convert.com, Zoho, VWO, the Google recommended tools, VWO, Optimizely, A/B Tasty were like the lowest on the list. And it was like in favor of any random, SaaS that was like, okay, we'll just A/B split because it was cheap. Are you seeing something similar? You can only work with like clients who be like, now we know this investment.
No, I agree. It's been very scattered, and everybody wants to know like what the best one is, and I never have like an answer for that. I think the best answer is like it depends what you're trying to test, and it depends what your budget is. I have like some SMB clients that want to test everything, but are looking at like Optimizely's, where I'm like, well, if you want to spend your budget on something we could test probably on a smaller platform for free, then sure, but I don't think it's necessary. So I think it's pretty scattered. I think each platform kind of has their own perks as well. And I think the ones that I tend to prefer the most are the ones that are a little bit more UI friendly in terms of people that don't have an overwhelming knowledge of like developing and coding, for example. Especially in my world, because I don't come from a dev background by any means. So not only does that help, someone like myself be able to just run and set up tests seamlessly, but also it empowers our clients as well to just be able to take off some of the load as well. I think we do everything we can to make sure they're paying us for what they can't do. And then slowly start to give them some knowledge on a lot of these platforms where some small things like copy or colors of a button on a CTA, for example, they can kind of just take and run with and kind of go from there.
Yeah, it's amazing how go ahead, Carol.
No, I have a question because you hit right on. When I was looking through all these A/B testing tools and whatnot, for us as a developer's perspective, it's always about integration and what's the easiest for that platform to do. So my question for you, Luke, is what are some preferred questions that you want your clients to be asking you to help you determine and give them that suggestion? Because I'm sure as an agency owner, you have a couple of tools that you like. Can't probably say it on this YouTube for this channel because then people want to get sponsorships and whatnot. But you have a couple in the back of your head. What are some important things that you feel like clients should be asking you to help you guide them to, hey, option A, B, or C?
Yeah. So the first question, like, what do I need to use CRO and A/B test? I think a lot of the platforms have a lot of really cool bells and whistles, but if we're just starting off with A/B testing and CRO work, like, let's just make sure we're able to test, like I mentioned earlier, content on a product page very seamlessly. And then if we're starting to get really good, like proof in the pudding of a lot of the, testing and results that we're seeing, then let's talk about something a little bit bigger that has all of those kind of bells and whistles. So like the first thing is like, what do we need and what are we looking to test first and foremost? Obviously budget comes into play, as always. And then I think from a data perspective as well, I'm on the analytics side, being kind of in my role, exactly.
Data nerds unite.
Yes, exactly. On the data side, like let's make sure we have good data that's also going to tell the same story as GA4. And I know that sounds dumb, but I've worked with some platforms where GA4 is telling us we have one winner and the testing platform is telling us we have another winner. And then we're going, oh crap, like we just spent 2 weeks on this test and we don't really know which test won. So let's make sure that the data we're setting up within the platform, as well as the GA4 integration or whatever data integration that you're using, is telling us the same story and is really, really easy to use and set up and integrate and segment as well.
Nice.
So I have to ask you, how are you using GA4 in concert with your role?
I'm gonna mute
I was
myself
ready for
here.
this one. I knew it was coming. Yeah, so GA4, I think, as it pertains to CRO in particular, is a really, really good starting point for CRO. So we typically will use GA4 to identify where the pain points are. And by pain points, I mean, where are we losing people and where are we really converting well? I think also, obviously the easy starting point is like, where are we losing people on site? Where are people bouncing the most? Where are they not converting as well? But also like, where are people converting well and what can we take from that aspect of the site that we can use to help test the pain point areas of the site as well? I think kind of goes overlooked too. So we're using GA4 for a lot of that, a lot of the, like funnel explorations to help us discover where people might be dropping off. A lot of the, landing page performance reporting, a lot of the, just like page screen source medium. Our agency is not top of funnel, so we're optimizing everything on site, but that top of funnel information and where people are, coming from is super helpful to help us set that test up. For example, if we get a lot of people from paid search, for example, like if half of our traffic is coming in from paid search, we have to assume it's a relatively uneducated client base as it pertains to our brand. So we need to make sure wherever they're landing, they're able to obtain that information from wherever they're coming from that paid social, source medium.
We're going to have to back up here for a second because I think a lot of our listeners too are just Shopify merchants. So that's like what you just said, like, I get it. Like, why are paid search people not educated in your view?
Yeah, and when I say not educated, I don't mean they're dumb. I mean they're not educated as it pertains to the brand
So
that they're helping them. Like,
they're almost got fired.
Yes, exactly. I'm not firing any shots. I mean, as it pertains to the site that they're going on, right? So if I get an ad from, wherever on a brand I've never seen before, and I click on that brand, the first thing I obviously want to know is what are they selling, but also what are the value props of whatever they're selling as well. So if you have a high amount of people coming from something like paid social, where again, they've never, not always, but most of the time, they've never heard of the brand. They're just, seeing it for the first time. We need to make sure that they're getting all of the, information that they need, right? It's like the 10-second sales pitch, right? You have about 10 seconds to get it, kind of capture them. So we need to use that, whatever landing page it is, or whether it's a true built out landing page, whether it's they're sending them to their homepage or collection or product pages, whatever it might be, that they have all the information they need to help them through a buying.
Mm-hmm. Oh gosh, everybody wants to just send people to a product detail page. I'm like, yo, this is like name of a product, price, of add to cart button, and a gallery. Like, really?
Right.
Especially for things that are harder, like apparel, beauty. I mean, we talk about this too. Like, you're trying to sell something in a bottle, it's really hard to differentiate.
Yeah, I think the high AOV products as well, like the mattresses and furniture, if they've never, it's going to be very hard to get them to invest $2,000 into a product if they're landing on one single product, but they have no idea what your brand does, what your brand's about. Do you, are your value props around comfort? Are they around affordability? Things along those lines. It's going to be really, really hard to sell them a $2,000 mattress on just sending them to a picture of a product in
a picture of a mattress.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's emotional purchase. If it's over $2,000, it's emotional.
Well, yeah, that's our, I mean, and it's funny because what we're talking about is actually a lot of it, what it's missing when you send somebody to product is messaging. And that's what I think is like, is missed a lot of times, is that like these A/B testing tools, right? Yeah, sure. VWO is going to be $30,000 from the jump. I get it. You don't want to pay that. But if you just need something to split, test, copy, sometimes you could see, I mean, really big changes from refining your value props or even putting it on there for that matter.
Exactly. Yeah, I think you hit it on the head there. And that's that was the beauty of Optimize. Obviously, we were able to kind of use that free service. There are definitely some free ones out there. I believe Shopify has recently come out with one as well. But that's exactly the starting point, right? Like, let's get that messaging really honed in. I think, you sent me over a couple examples, which I know we'll get to as well. But I think something I noticed there, even like customer reviews, when we're looking at the reviews for something like, beauty and skincare, are people talking about how their face feels really great 2 days after using it? Or are they talking about they love the size of the packaging because they can bring it with them? Or are they talking about,
well, let's get into it. Let's get into it, shall we? Let's do it.
Is that a good segue?
I buy these kinds of things like I am not loyal. I buy one of these things every 2 weeks.
Sure.
And I give them to my daughters. True word. Like, I am not, it's hard for me to understand what is the difference. I don't know if you feel that way, Carol.
Okay. No, but I'm a very loyal. I'm very opposite of you. Yeah. Okay. I'm a loyal. If I like it, I keep using it. And until my face breaks.
Carol, what were the kind of value props that made you kind of decide on that particular brand?
Reviews.
Reviews,
and I'll do a lot of research. And if I like it, I try it, it works out, I am the one that will go back and put a review up there as well. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's how I show.
I like it.
But that's only on beauty. Everything else can screw themselves. Yeah. My purchase like patterns. But yeah, beauty is emotional purchase. I feel like it's especially when there's like subscription. It's very hard to opt in unless you're like, I know exactly what this is going to do to my skin.
Like the subscribe is like all over the place. I'm like, kiss me first.
Yes, okay? Yes. I'm not moving in until we go on a date. Yeah, right. Yeah. I feel
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. I actually am a skincare guy myself. I am loyal to a brand that's actually a client of ours, who's tremendous. So any male listeners, feel free to send me a message if you want some recommendations. But yeah,
Luke Morse, East House Studio.
That's right. That's right.
Look at that radiant. Look at that glow from Luke.
Thank you. I appreciate it. But yeah, for me, actually, it was feel like I've used a couple before that were fine. But this one was really like, wow, I kind of noticeably, see a difference in my skin. So it was a quality thing for me. But yeah, to your point, like we just talked about it for 5 minutes and we talked about 3 different value props. So like that's the perfect starting point and really the basis of CRO. Like we need to find out through reviews, through, interacting with our customers on site, through like data, what is that value prop, and then make sure that it's super prevalent all over the site, especially where, in kind of high converting areas.
I have
All
a
right,
question,
well-
Luke.
Oh,
Oh, sorry. I have a question.
Ask.
So
Yeah.
when it comes to testing scenarios, what are some good so I have a lot of skincare clients as well. They opt in with us to do maintenance, and I realize that skincare clients and apparel clients are the most complicated websites to build, especially when you have more than 10 products. The campaigns could be all over the place and very, very different. A/B testing could be so wild. What is a good way, like besides us 3 being on this call and talking about how do we shop skincare, what are some other ways that skincare brands, the team can come up with their own testing scenarios? Like from what I'm thinking for you, Mia, if you purchase all these different skincares every 2 weeks, do you return them?
No.
And do you give them a reason? Which means your AOV is low. You're buying
Mm,
things that are cheaper because you don't care to
I am a
returns.
very, very low value website visitor to almost every beauty brand. My metrics will
Okay.
be like, came in from social media, came in from TikTok,
Yeah.
bought
Yeah.
something right away
That's right.
without any much wooing, and then will then churn.
Anti-aging, click. Yeah.
Ouch.
Yeah. Geez, that's
It's
hard
old
again.
age, girl. You and I know this. Collagen, yes.
So,
So-
but yes, I mean, I would like if I were in, if I were running the analytics for that company, I would just be like, don't even pay attention to the segment. Like Mia, she's part of that segment. Don't even pay attention to her.
Yeah.
Focus on these ones. Start at a subscription and then churn. Why? Like dig into that.
Sure, sure. So yeah, I was doing a little homework on the set earlier once you sent it over. So if you were to go to the rescue map, to Carol's point, I was looking at reviews because that's a lot of the time where I'll start, which I think it's 3 or 4 folds down on the page. So what I found interesting is a lot of people were talking about obviously how it feels on their skin. I actually saw a high amount of reviews around I'm traveling here, I'm traveling there. It really fits well in my luggage or my suitcase or my travel bag. I'd love to, this is like the perfect size. So you see right there, very convenient to have travel size of a great product. So if you go back, after that, if you go back up to their buy box, they do have a what we call an accordion, which is that little drop down, that size and ingredients accordion. But it's really kind of just blended in with the rest of this product information, right? So you kind of have these accordions. There's some nice bulleted information that doesn't really stick out amongst the rest of the information. So if I were this brand, I would kind of be taking something like that in these reviews and seeing. I would say I probably saw 5 or 6 of those same ones and say, how can we really test popping that size information out? Whether it's like, copy under that that variant right there. I think it's like a 30. Can you scroll up a little bit? Yeah, that like 25 milliliter, like whether it's like perfect for travel, some content around there, to kind of entice that segment, or it's different ways we're presenting this size content, or when the page loads, that's the accordion that's actually just showing and nobody has to click and drop it down. Those are some of the things I might start to test in the areas I might look at. And I know it's like, to the people that aren't in the industry and kind of say like, well, it's just kind of a very minuscule detail. Those are the kind of things I would start with because A, it's super low effort to do some of those things. It's not going to cost you a lot of money to do it. And then B, like, again, it's just the perfect intro to getting into some of the CRO stuff, to just say, hey, what if we just change the wording, or how the information is presented and see if that affects conversion rate. It may or may not. But before we go ahead and just rebuild this entire top fold of the product page, let's see if there's a bunch of small wins on this top fold that can really capture some of those like travelers that might be coming in looking for some of these smaller, products.
Or like an extra tag. That's something easy we've suggested to our clients too. Is like if it's a travel size, slap on one of those like badges at the top that says travel, or
Exactly.
like
Well, you know what I'm like, what I want to do
add
too
to cart.
is see what we got going on over here.
Exactly.
My favorite, tagging porn. Like also, do people even open up size and ingredients? Do they do it? I didn't see that. Fire.
No.
So even if somebody were to open those accordions for how to use, or if size and ingredients, like I think it's wonderful, like there's a behavior tag here, but I think, there actually is a behavior tag. Okay, this looks like so there is a behavior tag, and this looks like action is product details, accordion size, ingredients. Like that would be like another tool in your tool belt to go after. You see like, okay, there's these, I see this a lot for travel. Like, let's see, do people open up this particular accordion, and what does their conversion rate look like compared to the ones who don't?
For sure.
That's like where my head goes.
Yeah, and to your point, like a lot of the brands that are just getting into CRO aren't already tagging a lot of this stuff, so they're off to a great start. But it's like, okay, now we have the information. Let's make sure we're using it. I mean,
yes,
I like that they have all the kind of like main value props in the fold. I think like sometimes brands get into too much of a mentality of like, we want to make sure we're showing like a bunch of different upsells right under the first fold, which is fine because that works well for a lot of brands, but especially for like something like beauty and cosmetics, like people want to know what's in their ingredient, what ingredients are in the stuff they're using. How am I going to use this? What is it going to help with health wise? So I like that they have that in the top fold. Again, it's just like out of these four, everything kind of looks like one bulleted list. So what do our customers care most about? Or what are the people we're trying to acquire care most about,
right?
Or what do we want them to care most about? That's one of our main value props. So how do we make that stick out amongst the rest of this, right? It's like if you were to have like a sale collection in your navigation, like obviously the word sale is going to make people migrate to that more, but if you're really trying to push product in your sale collection, how do we make that stick out more than the rest of the other collections or clearance or things along those lines? It's how do we drag those eyes to the information that we want eyes directed towards.
Bestseller category.
Perfect example. Exactly. Yep.
Right. Yeah. And actually, I also, I noticed that when we toggled between the different, did only the 100 milliliter win that beauty award? Or is that why? It seems like the product is product. So if you somehow happened upon this page, I think it's hard when you're just showing a bottle of something, right? But like, sure. I do love to see touts on the gallery. I don't think brands do this enough, but all of the different things it can share why you differentiate inside the gallery. I think it's a missed opportunity on a lot of brands.
That's another great area to test as well. I love this picture right here. In opinions differ on this, but personally, I'd rather see an image that's showing me more value props than like here's the product in front of a blue background. Here's the product in front of a green background. Like you have probably the only, you could put 12 images in the gallery with, 8 different backgrounds, somebody holding it in their hand. But I think especially for those new visitors, like what pictures can we put in the gallery that's going to help educate them on their buying decision, I think is like where people, which is really a hit or miss moment in my opinion, that people kind of overlook within their gallery.
Videos.
I'd be curious to know.
Yep.
Right. I love. You know what I see work a lot is social media videos in the gallery itself. That goes gangbusters.
Show it to you. Put it on. That's me all day. I'll look at that all day.
What else do you see?
Let's see. Another thing that stuck out that you kind of mentioned earlier, and I know it kind of contradicts. We work with a lot of subscription brands. I know you guys don't like getting subscription shoved down your throat, so I apologize in advance here. But for this brand who is obviously trying to get people to subscribe to their product, it kind of goes back to what I was saying about the description, there's nothing besides that crossed out price that's really making subscribe and save more prevalent and attractive than it is to just one-time purchase. So a couple ways we might test that is, what if we just, when the page loads, default to that button being on subscribe and save, opposed to just one-time purchase? So I think the old adage was like, that seems kind of like sneaky. I don't really think it is, because they will have 3 or 4 other opportunities to see what they're paying for through the cart, through checkout, things along those lines. That kind of gets in the mentality of like, okay, the price is already defaulted to the discount. So maybe, especially for your returning customers, like if they're continuing to order just one times, not on cadence, that's a perfect opportunity to just get that quick win where they're like, okay, we might as well, if I'm ordering this 3-4 times, for example, my girlfriend and I used to order we still do a lot of like amino acid protein powders. And for like 4 months, we were just paying an extra like $20. And then finally, I've loaded the product page one day. It was defaulted to subscribe and save. I'm like, this is dumb. We're ordering one times all the time, spending more money. So that's a super quick win to just be able to default. The other thing I would try is, again, just those quick wins around like color of copy, size of font. What if we kind of like feature this in some sort of box or module that kind of just really makes it pop out on the page, such as like the add to cart button does, such as the variant size does as well, so that it looks a little bit more prevalent than the one-time purchase. They actually do a pretty good job around the site. They have like a subscription landing page. They have some like CTA tiles in their their collection pages that really sell subscriptions. So they're doing everything they can to get that. I think it's this one actually. If you scroll down a little more, I think they have right there.
That's smart.
Their subscribe and save. So they do
really
a great
good.
job like trying to get people to get to the subscription, but then when we get to the product, it's just the same as everything else, right? There's nothing prevalent about subscription on that product page that would entice people to like finish that conversion there. So that's something I might look at as well. Again, I would look kind of back on the data side at their things like churn rate, things like percent of people that do subscribe to these products. And if it does align with their goals, they're trying to, which I would assume it does based off of, this content we're seeing here, they're trying to onboard more subscribers. I would make sure that's the message throughout the site. But to your point, again, not like shoving it down people's throat.
Yeah, I think they do a really good job of having that delicate balance. And I will say, like, I am not the shopper that this brand would want to cater to.
Sure.
Right. Like when we started, I was like, I don't like it when people shove subscriptions down my face, because I already know that I am not a loyal buyer of beauty brands. But if I'm looking at when we're talking about optimizing, I think clients sometimes are thinking about, well, what is everyone going to think about that? Right? Like if we introduce that, if we default it to subscribe and save, what is everybody going to think? And the thing that I have to keep explaining to them is like, we're not doing this test for everybody. We're
Sure.
doing this test for everybody who is on the fence of being a subscriber.
Right.
Right? Like it's like marketing is even that way. It's like if you market, you want to have the best call to action and the best value proposition for your best customer.
Totally.
Your highest value customer, not everyone. And that's the thing. Like, I mean, I think you're absolutely right. Like if you're getting somebody from down the funnel from like a one-time purchase to a subscribe, throw the subscribe on there. The ones who are going to filter themselves out will go back to one-time purchase. And that data will give you the point to be like, this is my nurture bucket.
Exactly.
So like they just turn out. So like, it's like when especially merchants or people who are smaller merchants who don't have access to this kinds of thinking, it's just like, they're like, oh, what if it's rude? Like there was another company that I talked to the other day was like, I don't want to put email subscriptions as a pop-up every time somebody comes to my store. And I'm like, well, your email is converting 3 times higher than any other channel. So do you want to be the brand that's polite?
I love that. I love that you say that. That is so true, because you're giving a perspective to the owners to be like, this is not about you and your personality. This is about that group of people that you want them to convert. And that is who we're looking at and their behavior. I love that approach, Mia. Such a good point.
But also, like,
I'm
I
telling
think the
myself.
behavior, like when we say things that used to be black hat are now commonplace, right?
Sure.
Now, things that you were like, oh, I don't want to default to subscribe and save, it seems rude. But it's like now going to be commonplace. Or like having a, sign up for our newsletter or spin the wheel. Like it's commonplace. And so user behaviors and expectations of what's normal changes all the time, which is why I'm like,
Totally.
I'm such a, like, get user experience data into GA.
Yep.
Because
Yeah.
you might
Yeah.
discover that it didn't matter, that actually the customers who were going to buy from you bought anyway, and then you got 30% increase in emails, right?
Exactly.
And
Yep.
And
And
people are
yeah,
used to it. People are
for
used
sure.
to the pop-up. They're like, oh, that's a pop-up. They're going to get annoyed,
Right.
in my
And
opinion.
you're
Sorry,
most
Luke.
likely sending abandoned cart emails, right? Which some people would deem quote unquote creepy, but the customer kind of took the time to add it to their cart. So, there's at least some degree of buying intent there. So those abandoned cart emails work. Some people find them creepy, but from an e-commerce perspective and a kind of a conversion optimization perspective, we test those as well, right? So that's a whole another conversation, I know, but it's kind of just about presenting the information in the right way to your customers to make sure they know, and are able to make the most educated buying decision possible.
yeah, totally. And that's, again, like, it's creepy to some, but you're trying to talk to your best customer. It's
Right.
your best customer you're going after. And actually, when I don't care for it when I have somebody following me back with my cart, except for when I wanted to remember.
Exactly.
Right? Like
Yeah.
when it's like, oh yeah, I forgot I was going to buy that dribble up basketball for my daughter because basketball season's coming up and I wanted to practice her ball handling skills. I put it in my cart and I just got distracted. Like, I am appreciative of those. Now that I bought it, I don't need another one.
Right. I don't know if
They
I don't know
knew.
if you guys do this either, but my girlfriend will add, like, especially on Amazon, like 10 to 15 things in the cart, and her logic is like, I know I want to buy those, like I just want to put them in there for like when I actually want to buy them, so I don't have to go back and search
Oh,
for them again later.
That's me.
So then I get really stressed out looking at her Amazon cart because it's like 22 items, and
That's my
what are
husband.
you doing? But I know a lot of people do shop like that, so it's along that same premise.
oh yeah. Lots of people using their cart as a wish list.
Exactly.
Because usually the wish list is hidden in a tiny little thing right here.
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, that's a whole other thing. Amazing. I mean, I think this is a good stopping point for us, actually, for us to just be like, okay, I mean, these things that we talked about are concepts that I think a lot of Shopify merchants, well, we have mostly Shopify merchants. So you guys do, I think you're agnostic, right?
We're Shopify exclusive, actually. Yeah. No, I think it's a solid site. The only other thing that like really stuck out to me was the navigation, and kind of the
Saw that
discussion
too.
around, like, they're telling people to shop in 3 different ways out of those 4 hovers. So I would take a look at
Make a menu. Yeah.
something like, yeah, exactly. If you want to shop by concern, then test breaking out some of those categories into just like top level nav items, and
Yeah.
seeing if that kind of
Right, because the
entices, but
Discover piece, like, I get these two, shop by concern and shop by collection. Although this isn't really, this is branded.
yeah. So but that cleanser collection you were on earlier, I think there's 3 different ways to get to it from the nav. So, I'm like, well, maybe we'd look at mitigating that, and seeing if we could just streamline some of those funnels as well. So that would be another area. I think navigation is a really, really big one, especially in the
Yes.
GA4 world, where we're able to really find out, people landing on the homepage are now going here, and then they're dropping off. People landing on product pages are going here. So that's a really intuitive piece to give us a lot of our answers on where people are starting and where they're dropping off from their starting point, which is usually kind of steered by the navigation. So.
Yeah. Their mobile, I would also do a little discovery on A/B testing. I feel like mobile experience could be enhanced.
Yeah, especially this industry, it's usually upwards
it's almost,
of
like
80,
almost
85%
skewing.
mobile. Yeah.
Especially if you're coming in from a social media campaign or something. It's
Exactly.
like really a lot of businesses don't look at their mobile when it's like, oh, it's an afterthought. It's like, oh, it's responsive.
Right.
Which is crazy.
It's an afterthought.
It
Because
is.
it's like
It really is.
That's like 60% of your traffic coming through. We always look at mobile
Oh,
first.
we're upwards of 80 for a lot of these beauty and
Yep.
cosmetic brands for sure.
Yeah, they're coming
Well,
in from
and
social.
what do you think is the miss sometimes on looking at mobile, or why? I mean, it's just they're usually smaller, they're usually kind of strapped with resources, and so it's not something that they look at until somebody like us comes out and said, "Hey, you know what? 80% of your traffic is going here.
Yeah,
Maybe we should always look at it in mobile."
yeah, for sure. I think obviously the nav on mobile is very important to make sure they're, again, like that's where I think to Carol's point, the biggest detriment here is on the mobile nav. Like
Yeah.
now you're really sending them down a rabbit hole with all of these drop downs and really just adding extra clicks through having 3 different, kind of like
Exactly.
areas to go through.
Mm-hmm.
I think on the
Mm-hmm.
product page is usually the biggest one on mobile. We spent a lot of time talking about those like drop down accordions and how information is presented. Well, on mobile, you have even less time and real estate. So in this
Yeah.
example,
I see this a lot. The add to cart is even below the fold.
exactly, that's a good example.
Yes.
The
I would have
product
sticky
imaging,
that thing.
right? So yeah,
Mhm.
that's where we might see bounce rates go up potentially as well. So that would be something we'd look at testing. And then again, how those next. I think we've done some heat mapping in the past, and I'd say like a typical for this industry, I would say like after the third fold, you've probably lost about half of the people that were on the page, and it'll
Mhm.
vary, but I would say that's probably just as like a high level through looking at heat mapping historically. So if you only have 2 to 3 folds before you lose half of your customers, what is the most important information that we need to get in those 2 to 3 folds before they're gone or they've moved on to another page that's not somewhere they can add to cart, for example. So that's the biggest thing on mobile, I think, is just obviously smaller real estate, smaller space. We need to make sure we're making the most. I would look at that banner up top. It's a little bit long, like 2-3 lines. That kind of
Mhm.
that banner carousel.
Yeah.
So I might try to make that like, okay, we have free shippings on orders of $50. I might just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Again,
Yeah.
because every kind of like centimeter on that mobile top fold is super critical.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
have an iPhone 13. It is this small. Everyone laughs at my phone, but
No.
I'm telling you, I just open it up. Like it took up that much. All the white space
Right.
took up half of
I
my
get it.
phone.
I
That
used to
annoys
love.
me.
I used to be addicted to the home button on iPhone, so I was like 2
Oh,
years
the
behind
middle?
everybody getting one of the newer phones. So I totally
Yeah.
get it. I was working on even smaller real estate than you were.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's so
Yeah.
funny. Yeah, that thing is like a chiclet
I
box.
know.
I mean, it's not very
Hey,
big
yeah.
at all. But yeah, I mean, and that's why, that's why looking at screen sizes matters also. Like not only if you are looking at mobile, awesome. And if you start to look at breakpoints and screen sizes in your GA4 data, then that's also like the ninja move.
That's a really good point as well. The break the type of device as well, yeah, is huge.
I have a theory as to why the ecom team, like at Eve or skincare or whatever, they don't ever look at mobile. You ready?
Let's hear it.
I think my theory is like this, because I've been in the agency world my entire life here, and I realize that all these clients, whenever we talk to agencies, whether the development agency, CRO, whatever agency, we're always in front of our computers. It's always in
Mhm.
computer. Every time we do like meetings or whatever Zoom, it's always on desktop. So that is all we look at. I used to sit in an agency all day. We all look at mobile. And the only reason why we fixed mobile is because the CEO of the presidents of the whoever that has a farm in the middle of Massachusetts of nowhere, and they're on their
Was
phone.
looking
and
at
then
on
they
their
look
phone.
at it. They look at it on their phone. They're like, there's a bug. And then they start yelling at the VPs, and then the VPs
Mhm.
trickle down to everybody. And then we start fixing mobile. So the
Oh, I've
people
seen
who's
that movie.
actually on
Mhm.
mobile is the ones that are doing nothing at home, not the one who's working on the website. Because everyone who's on the website,
internal at the company, you mean? Like
exactly,
yeah,
internal
no,
on the website.
that
No,
Only
plays
the
out.
I
people
think
who are
that's a
the
good
end.
theory. No, I
Yeah.
agree. I think it's a good theory. I think just naturally too, like our eyes are built to be able to comprehend things at a bigger size, and it's just easier for us to look at things that way.
Yeah.
But I think that's a good theory. You have
I
to
mean,
show
I
So I
think
have
we're
an iPad.
honestly
I have phone, and I have my husband's big ass phone, always with me, and I just link everybody first. It's a habit that you have to do.
Yeah.
But I realize if, as an agency, like let's say developer and you guys and CRO, if you don't look at mobile for the client, they won't ever look at it. Which is annoying because I was like, traffic, guys, come on. What do you mean you don't look at your mobile?
Oh man,
I get so upset.
That's another episode. Clients.
Yeah. Oh God,
Luke, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I've always enjoyed talking to you, especially
Likewise.
like data-driven people, my faves. If anybody wants to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn, Luke Morse, Morse, or my email is luke.morse@ehousestudio.com. And eHouse Studio, we're a Shopify Plus development design CRO email agency as well. Thank you guys so much for having me on. This was great. Always down to talk CRO, and yeah, it was a pleasure.